Hey everyone, this is Morgan. I'm here with Megan for the Photo Business Success podcast. And today we are going to be talking about goals for the new year. We are getting ready to head into 2025, which seems crazy, but here we are. And we thought now is the perfect time to be talking about goals for the new year and how to plan for them and what you should be doing. We're both really big on goal setting but like there's specific ways we have to do it. And we wanted to make sure you guys are the most prepared that you can be going into the new year. So you're not just kind of like flailing and going about it haphazardly. And when you get to the end of 25, you're like, man, I didn't hit my goal. Wonder why. We want to make sure that you aren't saying that and you know exactly why you hit your goal. So, Megan, do you want to hit on anything before I jump in?
Yeah, I think the thing that I to do was I would honestly I would just kind of arbitrarily create, and then
Yeah.
I didn't have any kind of for how to accomplish them. I didn't know if they were anchored in reality, to be honest. And sometimes that was to my favor, and I ended up, it wasn't anchored in reality, but because I had the crazy goal and I'm a super high achiever, I ended up hitting something that was completely unreasonable. For the most part, that's not healthy. That oftentimes leads to burnout or neglecting family or whatever, all these other decisions that we would not want you to make because we made those mistakes. So, when it comes to goal setting, everything that we're going to talk about today is how we successfully not just set goals, but how we set ourselves up to achieve goals
You.
because you really I think it's one of those things that's almost overstated at this point, but you do have to start with the end in mind. So if you want to achieve X, Y, and Z in 2025, you can't just pick a random goal. You can't just decide those things on January 1st and hope that they come true. Goals are not wishes.
Nope.
So this is our plan for helping you plan to actually achieve your goals. So it's almost like I think we had started out by saying oh, we're going to talk about goal setting, but maybe this is goal achieving for
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah. Totally agree. The first thing we wanted to talk about is making sure that your goals are trackable. This is a really big thing. If you just say, like, hey, I want to do better than I did in 2024, that is not going to help you get there because, like, what does that look like? Are you
Right.
wanting to make more money? Are you wanting to book more weddings? Are you wanting to have more time off? Are you wanting to travel more? What does that look like? And so you want to make sure that you have a number associated with it or like you can track whatever your goal is. So, I mean, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is like the monetary amount. Obviously, that's an easy one to like be able to track. But also, one thing I do every year is I track the number of weddings that I want, which a lot of people do as well. But I think everybody's like, "Oh, I'd like to have 20." I'm like, "Okay, so do you want 20 or is that just like a that if it happens that's nice." And another thing is like how many destination weddings do you want? What type of destination weddings do you want? That was one thing that was really big for me for 2024. Well, actually this was 2023. I was like, I want to shoot international destination weddings. I want to have two of them. I want to have two castle weddings. And so by time we hit 2024, I had my two castle weddings. But I was able to like put a number on that. So I knew like this is exactly what I'm looking for. And then like, this coming year, I'm putting a percentage on how many home weddings I'm having versus like travel weddings and how many weddings my associates are shooting versus me, things like that. All of this is trackable. So that way I know what I'm looking for. And not only like in business too, but also like personal life too. I want to like cut back the amount of work I'm working and I also want to grow our savings. So this is the amount that I want in our savings by the end of the year. Things like that are really, really important So you know that you're working towards a goal and
Mhm.
have a way to know that you are getting there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think this is sort of off script, not part of our outline, but, like, one of the things like, what you're talking about is being just very, very specific, and also knowing the purpose of the goal, and,
And
uh
intentional.
honestly, like, I've set a lot of goals in my life that I've hit, and I've set a lot of goals that I haven't hit, and I know that for me, the more closely tied something is to purpose, the better I do with it, and I'm gonna give an example because I feel like, the tangibility of it isn't maybe strong. So, I want to get healthier. And I've been saying this for a while, and in my head, it's like, "Oh, I wanna be healthier, I wanna be healthier." And when I ask why, it's like, "Well, I wanna feel better. Well, I wanna look better." But more recently, I tied that goal to, I actually want to be able to achieve my purpose in life. And when I'm not healthy, when I'm not feeling my best, it makes it much harder. If I have to nap in the middle of the day, I'm not actually moving closer to my purpose. If I No, I have nothing against naps. If I get to nap, great. If I have to nap, totally different.
Totally
Those are
different.
different things. Love naps, but if I have to nap, I don't like that. That interrupts my flow. And so I once I was able to switch from just kind of this idea of I want to be healthier, and I did have more specific goals attached to that, just to be clear. But from being healthier to I'm actually getting healthy because it moves me closer to, like, the real thing that I want.
Mhm.
And, like, it could be for you that you want to be able to increase your prices so that you can shoot less weddings, so that you can be home with your kids more. Like, when you connect the dots, and it's tied to more of an identity thing of who you are rather than just like a what you want, your goals, you'll achieve your goals better. So,
It's the motivation you need.
yes. Um and not just the motivation, because motivation is fleeting. It's just like any other feeling, it comes and goes. And I personally don't want to be at the whim and mercy of motivation. So, like, for me, tying it to the greater purpose is is what gets me up out of bed when I don't feel it. When I got 3 hours of sleep and I'm freaking exhausted and I don't want to go do the thing, I'm
Yep.
not motivated, but I am to my purpose. Like, I
Yep.
know what I'm doing it for. So, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, this is sort of a sub point under Morgan, what Morgan talked about is lead and lag indicators. And they sound like really fancy terms that maybe you don't really need to know, but it's very important. So, as Morgan mentioned, like, sometimes we'll do that revenue goal. And the revenue goal is actually what's called a lag indicator. A lag indicator follows a lead indicator, as the names indicate. So, a lead indicator might be weddings booked. It could be design consultations or whatever you call your IPS, the IPS part of your business. Maybe you're going from 0% of your weddings having IPS to 50% of your weddings in 2025 have IPS. And so, because of that, your revenue is going to increase. And the real number is about IPS sessions rather than about revenue. Yes, you will see a revenue increase. We have no problem with you having a revenue goal. We have no problem with you having, like, wanting all the money in the world. We are big fans of that, actually.
Okay.
What I do recommend is that instead of making a $200,000 take home goal, make sure that you've figured out, like,
How you're
what
gonna get there.
that's the lag. So what's the lead? What what needs to happen for that to happen? So, like,
Yep.
what's your lead indicator? Because your lead indicator is more of, like, action oriented, what you have control over. A lag indicator will follow
Is
that.
the results.
Yes, right. So don't make the result the goal, make the, like, action I'm not even saying this well, but yes, make the action and the thing that you can control
The goal.
the goal. And, like, Morgan has so many examples of this, and I think she's, like, kind of the queen of this, is, like, showing up when it's uncomfortable, showing up when you're not seeing the results. So, like, I specifically remember, I believe it was March, she had consultation after
Oh,
consultation after
yeah.
consultation after consultation. It was like 16 consultations or something like that without any of them closing,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things where, like, it's really easy to get lost in the number, like, each one of those being, like,
I know.
not a sale, and, like, those compounding on each other, but she knows that eventually she's gonna hit a point statistically, like, it just like, this is what happens, is, like, eventually it's gonna break open, and it did. She booked quite it was, like, 1, 2, 3,
It
and
was
then
3 in one day. It's always
another,
3
like
in one day.
right, and then it was, like, another spurt, like, 2
Yeah.
weeks after that, or not even a full 2 weeks, and she like, I said March, but, like, it happened again a couple months
Oh
later,
dear.
and it's just, like yeah, so pay making sure that lead indicators are, like, how you're basing your thinking and your decision making rather than that lag indicator, because if you're too focused on the lag, it's so easy to get lost in it and lower your standards for yourself.
Yeah. So, to go along with that, one of the important things is to break down the numbers so you know exactly what you need to be doing. So, like Megan talked about, when I had that streak where I did 16 consultations and nobody booked. And then the next week I did 5 and 3 booked. The thing is, like, I know that in order for me to get the number of bookings I need per month, which is 6, I have to do a certain number of consultations. I book at 35%, and so I need to, you know, take that into consideration. So if I do 10 consultations, I'm booking 3 conservatively. And so I know in order for me to if I booked probably less than that, but just, like, to give you guys an idea, which then means I need to do a certain number of reach outs because of all of that. So you have to break it down and to know exactly what each day is going to look like. And it doesn't have to be each day. Like, I'm just saying that like to make a point basically, but so you know, like, what you need to be focusing on. So, for me, I want 60 weddings for 2025. I've got 33 books so far, which means I need 27 actually, that number might be wrong, but let's just say that's right. 33 booked, so I need 27 weddings. So, that means I need to figure out how many per month I need to book and also figure out how many consultations that mean. So these are the actions that are leading to the result of 60 weddings. Just like Megan was talking about, the I need a certain number of consultations in order to reach the 27 booked. So I hope that makes sense. I also do this a lot with money. So I know if I'm on track to reach my goals. So if my goal is, let's just like do simple math here. Let's say our goal is 120,000 for next year. That means I need to make 10,000 per month. Okay, so how many weddings does that mean I need to book? We're booking every wedding at 4,000 and we have a let's just say a $1,000 retainer. Let's just use that as our number. And let's say the weddings are happening the following year, so we're not going to take that into consideration.
More complicated than it needs to be.
I know.
Just
I Okay, well, say we're taking full payment then. So we
yeah.
need to book like a 2.5 per month. Obviously, a half it doesn't count, but you know, it evens out. And then when I after every few months, usually every quarter, I go through and I'm like, okay, so where am I at on my goal? What do I need to step up? And how can I make up for like maybe I did really great in the first quarter. Okay, great. So like this is what I need to do for the rest of the year then because I've already hit more than what I needed. So, I hope that makes sense.
Also, like, knowing that, like, you know, January through March are where you might, like, book a little bit more because of Hollywood engagement because of
Holiday engagements?
holiday engagement. I'm like, "What am I trying to say?" Because of holiday engagements, you might say, like, "I'm expecting, like, more revenue in those months because of bookings," but also and actually, when I say revenue, what I mean actually in this case is cash
Cash
collected.
collected.
And maybe you know that you don't have any weddings for April and May. I know that's unlikely. May is usually a pretty good month. But so you're just, like, not gonna count on having high revenue months
Yeah,
then. Maybe you have monthly or, you know, 3 installment payment plans set up for people for their weddings or for their IPS. Then,
mhm.
like, make sure you're counting in those kinds of things and, like, what
The
to expect.
guaranteed income.
If
Yeah,
you also like, if you're not just doing weddings, if you're also doing families and you know that you do Easter mini sessions, a month before Easter, or maybe you do Valentine's Day mini sessions or whatever, make
yeah,
sure you factor in all of that stuff because, like,
absolutely.
realistically, using Morgan's example, $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month is like, yeah, like the easy math of that is we should be making $10,000 a month. But like more realistically, you're probably gonna make $40,000 of that in, like, the
September,
last part of the year because of all the
final
end
year.
of year weddings and IPS and whatever. So, like
And I always look at that too. When I sit down and plan out my year, I look at what is planned to come in when. I have a lot of clients who are on monthly payment plans, so I look at that when I'm factoring things in, saying like, "Okay, this is coming in." But then I also look at, okay, we have like in May we have 5 weddings. So that means in April, because it's due 30 days before, we have like $3,000 for each of those weddings due. So that means, you know, we can like that's guaranteed collected. So I always factor that in too, so I know like where I'm at and what months are going to require more work than others. And I don't mean that we can like take time off. I mean like we know what's coming and that means I can put myself ahead for the coming months.
Yeah, exactly. So, the last thing that we wanted to address with you guys is, like, it can be really easy to put up, like, 10 or 15 goals on the board, and especially if you treat them more like New Year's resolutions. "Oh, I want this, I want that." If a goal is a hope and not a plan, then ooh, that's so good. If a goal is a hope and not a plan, then, like, it shouldn't be on your board.
Right.
If and so because of that, we I think we've all heard of, like, having 3 most important tasks. If not, we should totally do a productivity podcast episode. But having 3 most important goals for the year and breaking those up into quarters and then breaking those down into quarters, breaking those down into months, breaking those down into weeks, like, that makes it achievable. If you just leave it as, like, big goals, you're less likely to get stuff done. That goes to, like, what Morgan was just talking about, but, like, also at the same time, like, imagine that you have 10 goals and you miss, it's like April before you actually check one off the list, you're
Right.
probably gonna look at them and feel overwhelmed and like, "Oh my gosh, well, I can't get the other 9 or whatever done in the
Yeah.
rest of the year," especially because now we're heading into busy season and I'm
Mhm.
really not gonna be able to start that website until November, and yeah. So, like, honestly, your goals your goals need to be like big, like 3 big things.
Mhm.
And, like, it can be I know that we are eventually going to get around to talking about why you don't need a website, so I'm not sure why this particular goal popped into my head. Like, I think
Because that's what every photographer
because
says.
everyone at this time of year thinks, "I need a website." Like,
Yeah.
you don't need a website. Like, you needing a new website should not be your goal. You converting more leads or attracting more leads, like, that's a goal. And,
Yep.
like, when we say more, it's
Put a number on it.
Again, using the principle is like, don't just say more. Like, if you're currently maybe you don't even know what percentage you convert. Start tracking and then set an ideal percentage on that of
Mhm.
leads that you're going to convert into sales. Or maybe you can look back and say, oh, I attracted 4 leads a month. I want to double that to 8 leads per month. Like, really knowing what that looks like. And like, one of your strategies could be, hey, I'm going to do that through I'm gonna launch a Facebook group, and I can do that in Q1. Maybe Q2, you're gonna actually revamp your website, which again, we're gonna make a whole episode on why you don't need a better website or why don't you don't need a new website. But if you're adamant that you're gonna do a website, like that should be part of your bigger strategy of more leads. Or maybe you're going to learn SEO and launch SEO for your site or whatever that is. Maybe you're going to start Facebook ads. If you want to do that, that's a lot easier to launch because most of you are paying or should be paying someone to do that for you,
Yep.
like Morgan.
Yep.
Shameless plug. Like Morgan can launch your Facebook ads for you and it doesn't take a whole quarter for
Guess
you
what?
to
We can get them launched in 72 hours of our onboarding.
2 hours. So yeah, the whole purpose of this is for you to like stop thinking about a goal as a wish and start thinking about it as a plan. You should have 3 because you can only execute on 3 things at a time and you should break them down into smaller, manageable pieces. You should know how to move the ball forward on either a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis
Yep.
and like that's it. So, I think
I think
anything
that's
else to add?
no, I think that's it. I think I'm going to go make a post about this now because it's so true, especially going into the new year. So I'm glad we had this conversation.
Me
Uh,
too. This was good for me.
yeah. Do you want to give one of your goals before we sign off for the next year?
Putting me on the spot. No, thank you. Okay, fine. The thing is, no, I don't. I don't is actually the answer to that. I don't.
Okay.
Would you like to give one of your
Sure. I
goals?
can give one of mine since I'm in the industry still, and
Okay.
it's probably
I
more
that's like
applicable.
I feel like mine's not relatable. Like mine's gonna be like, oh wow. Like, yeah,
That's okay. We all know you're not a photographer anymore. So one of my goals for the new year, which actually this started a few months ago and I'm revamping it because I've done better than I expected. So in 2025, my goal is to get on 5 preferred vendor lists. It was originally 3 and I'm on 4. So I want to do 5 new ones for 2025. I'm in a city that I didn't grow up in, so I don't have all the connections here but I've been trying really hard. So that's one of my goals for this year and I think that's something that's applicable to a lot of other wedding vendors too. So if you're listening to this is a great way to do that, and we can talk about that later. But another plug, if you're wanting to get on the preferred vendor list, we have great, I don't want to say strategies, but great insight into that in our wedding multiplier toolkit, which you can
if you're wanting more leads for your business in 2025, Multiplier Toolkit teaches you how to do that. It gives you 12 and a bonus
yep,
different strategies and tactics. Like we lay out how to do it
yep,
on like how to without spending money on ads, without having to hire, like 12 different people in your business.
yep.
Like it teaches you how to use what you have to generate more leads.
Absolutely. Yep. So that the link to that is in the show notes. The link to our Facebook group is also in the show notes. We'd love to have you there, build a community. And if you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. But we will talk to you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.